So imagine this. Two crimes, totally identical, same victim, everything. But one gets a much tougher sentence. Why? Just because of where it happened, like feet away from a specific place.
Exactly. We're diving into how the Penal Code, specifically Article 14, Paragraph 5, treats the location of a crime.
Right, how the place itself can make the crime seem worse.
It boils down to this idea of greater pervasivity. Committing a crime somewhere that demands respect, well, the law sees that as showing a deeper level of disrespect. It's about the offender's attitude, really.
Okay, so it's the audacity of it. What places are we talking about? The sources list 4 specific types, right?
That's right. They kind of fall into 2 groups,
Right.
official places and sacred ones.
Okay.
So first, there's the chief executive's palace, like Malakang. Then there's simply being in the chief executive's presence, anywhere.
Anywhere. Wow.
Third, a place where public authorities are actually, doing their jobs. And fourth, a place that's specifically for religious worship.
Let's unpack that chief executive rule first. The sources say their presence alone is enough, even if they're not, like, working. And it doesn't have to be near the palace.
Correct. It's about the disrespect shown to the office they embody. Their physical presence symbolizes that authority.
So attacking someone near the president, even if they're just, I don't know, at a coffee shop, could trigger this.
Potentially, yes. The aggravation comes from disregarding the symbolic authority they represent, no matter the activity.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't there another rule, paragraph 2, about contempt of authority? If I insult an official on the street, how is this location rule, paragraph 5, different?
Good question. That's a really important distinction. Paragraph 2, the contempt rule, usually applies when the official is performing duties outside their office.
Right.
Paragraph 5, the one we're focused on, is much stricter about location. It applies when the authorities are in their office and actively doing their job. It's about defiling the actual place of authority while it's functioning.
So the office needs to be on, functioning.
Precisely. There's a case, U.S. versus Penal, that makes this super clear. A killing happened in a room next to a courtroom, but the court had already adjourned for the day.
And did it apply?
No, the court rejected it. They said there has to be some performance of public functions happening right then and there. The place wasn't actively serving its official purpose at that exact moment.
Got it. So it's not just the building, it's the building in use.
Exactly. But then you have the flip side, like in People versus Kanoi. An electoral precinct, a polling place on election day, that was considered a place where authorities discharged duties.
Because voting is an active public function happening right there.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It highlights that it's about the function happening in the place, sometimes more than the physical permanence of the structure itself.
Okay, so that covers the official spots.
Yeah.
What about the sacred ones? Places of religious worship.
Similar principle, but focused on sanctity. The key word is worship. Meaning churches, mosques, temples, places actually dedicated to the worship of God. That's what the sources emphasize.
So not just any solemn place. Like,
Okay.
What about a cemetery?
Cemeteries, interestingly, don't count under this rule. They're respected, yes, solemn, but not technically dedicated to worship in the way a church is.
And again, it's about violating the sanctity of the place while it's being used for its purpose.
Yes. The examples range from serious crimes, like shooting someone inside a church during service, to lesser offenses. There was even a case of unjust vexation.
Unjust vexation.
Someone inappropriately kissed a girl inside a church during a solemn religious service. That act, in that place at that time, triggered the aggravating circumstance. It's the disrespect during the sacred function.
Wow, okay. But then there's a huge twist, isn't there? Something about intent.
Yes. This is probably the most crucial nuance. What if the person didn't plan the crime before they entered the place?
Right, what if it just flared up?
This is where the law adds a major condition. The sources are clear. This aggravating circumstance generally doesn't apply if the offender didn't already intend to commit the crime when they entered.
So you have to walk in already planning it.
Essentially, yes. The key case here is People versus Sharig. A girl stabbed someone inside a chapel. But the court found she didn't go into the chapel planning murder. It happened impulsively after she was already inside. So the aggravating circumstance was rejected. She didn't enter with murder in her heart, as the ruling put it.
And that applies across the board.
Yeah.
To Malacanning, public offices too.
Generally, yes. The principle seems to be consistent. You need that pre-existing intent upon entry for the place itself to aggravate the crime under this rule.
So let's wrap this up. The law definitely sees committing crimes in these specific official or sacred places as worse, showing more perversity, more disrespect.
Absolutely. It's about violating the function and symbolism of the location.
But, crucially, it hinges on whether you intended to commit the crime when you walk through the door. If the intent formed later, the place itself might not increase the penalty under this specific rule.
Exactly. It adds that layer of intent that's so critical.
Which leaves us with something to think about, right? How effectively does this legal requirement, needing that pre-existing intent, truly capture the greater perversity the law aims to punish, especially when you think about crimes of passion that might erupt suddenly within those very walls?
That's the lingering question. Does the timing of intent always line up perfectly with the level of disrespect shown to the place? Something for you to mull over.